So it seems like Savjz has banned that rogue, and Forsen has banned the shaman against Savjz. An interesting choice.
Not the hunter. It's a very interesting because like banning rogue for on Forsen side is really a good decision because leaving a rogue for Forsen is kind of deadly. But why do you ban shaman being Forsen here? What's your setup? You have a priest, you have a warrior. I would say like priest is probably fine versus shaman, especially with the priest list that Forsen is running here. So I guess he feels like this deck is kind of like countering his setup, or maybe he doesn't feel like really comfortable playing against it. The thing about the ban system is that it really enables players to play the mind games and kind of like create their own meta game. It's maybe Forsen is when he was building his decks, he was like, yeah, I will play in the meta game without any shamans, and now maybe it will actually work for him.
Yeah, it makes sense if shaman's really good against warrior and druid, like you mentioned. But at the same time, it might it might bite him in the butt. Depends on how he faces off against two of the most powerful decks in the tournament metagame with Miracle Rogue and the mid-range Hunter. And again, Savjz pretty good even with the hand lock, so he doesn't even necessarily need to rely on that. But I feel like he's going to be really confident going up in the first match, Miracle versus the mid-range Druid. But we've been seeing cards like Spectral Knight do good amounts of damage and disruption to how Miracle Rogue's able to engage. And unless they're able to immediately put out minions to trade with it, maybe the Spectral Knight can be an MVP. And we have seen things like innervated cards early on be able to just snowball into victory for Druids. So by no means is it going to be an easy win for Rogue. They still have to kind of earn it. Depends on how the draws go.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also like Forsen's deck is pretty interesting. Like I'm not sure if I've seen this kind of deck before, but it seems like he's running everything. He has the Wild Growth, he has a double combo, and he has a lot of mid-range card as well. So let's quickly jump into the game as the players are taking a mulligan here.
Well, we talked about Innervate and Spectral Knight and how that can be a really good disruption to Miracle Rogue, and maybe we'll see that. I can't really imagine pushing away Spectral Knight from this opening hand by Forsen.
Yeah, definitely Spectral Knight on turn 2. Oh my god, this might be so devastating. Like you will really have to like have an SA7 or use a weapon to actually kill it.
Yeah,
and Savjz has no
poison.
cards, kind of. He has Deadly Poison, he has SA7, so he might actually be able to deal with the Spectral Knight on turn 2 if Forsen actually decides to play it.
I think you have to. There's no better way to start off against Miracle Rogue as the Druid player, in my opinion. Even Innervated Yeti is inferior to this play, in my opinion.
Yeah, this guy is so annoying, and especially on turn 2, especially on the empty board. Even with... Wait, can you... He can actually... Like, even if he uses preparation to use Deadly Poison and then SA7, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. It's still like 5 points of damage. And use so much resource to actually like deal with this guy. I guess you have to attack into it twice. That's the best course of action.
Spectral Knight will do 12 damage.
Yeah, and this is exactly
bananas.
And this is exactly what Druid needs. It's like because Druid wants to deal as much damage as possible to be able to use the combo as soon as possible. And this is just a race. It's like it's not about board position. It's a race. Who wins first? And if you are able to put this kind of pressure on Miracle Rogue really starts to struggle. This is very interesting. Like, what will Savjz do? There is no good way to deal with this.
Absolutely not. At least what's nice is he does have a Farseer to recover some of its HP. Ooh, he's looking for a creative play. Maybe he weapons up Deadly Poison and SI7. It accomplishes almost the same exact thing, but I guess you're slightly more mana efficient. But I think he's going to play this down note, draw off of it, and see what he gets.
Yeah, basically Falnas is a cycle card here. Yeah, like you don't have any plan for it. It will probably be killed. If it tanks 4 damage, it's even better. But it will probably just tank the Shapeshift, and it nets you a card, which is good.
Okay, so this opening has netted Forsen a considerable life lead. And, Savjz will recover some of it with his Farseer, but boy, was that painful.
Oh my god, like 12 points of damage. This is so disgusting. I think it was really worth it.
I think so. You trade Innervate for, effectively 8 damage, I guess, because you don't always necessarily guarantee the damage from Spectral Knight.
Also, there's a Yeti follow-up, which is pretty good. Yeti is also hard to deal with here. you probably sap it and try to build the board. But on the other hand, there is some removal in Forsen's hand. And he has a really good follow-up with like Druid of the Claw and Ancients of Lore to draw into more cards to get that combo and maybe a second Innervate to like speed up the kill.
Do you like pushing out a slightly bigger Van Cleef, or do you feel like 4/4 is enough?
The Brotherhood shall
I would probably put a 6/6. I will use one preparation just to get a 6/6. It's like I feel like 4/4 is just too easy to get swiped. Or even Druid of the Claw charge into Edwin. Still just shutting down my Edwin. And with 6/6, I would expect Keeper of the Grove being the only answer.
Does sound reasonable. Whoa, but he does have Eviscerate. So he does have a way to kind of deal with it. And try to combo. So you can kind of squeeze in Eviscerate, SI7 agent, and drop Van Cleef once more. I like it. It's clean. It's nice. Has to kind of sequence it so that way he doesn't extend it to BGH. Plays as a 6/6 and then SI7 agent last.
And he's probably regretting the fact that he didn't play it as a 6/6 to begin with.
Sure. But you can't always make that call. You know, you might draw into the gadget stand the next turn and all of a sudden you look like a genius for saving your preparations.
Well, now he has a sick preparation, kind of like just waiting for something, right? Like 2 dead cards that can actually become amazing or will just remain dead till the end of the game. But at least his board is fine.
Well, let's see what Forsen has. He can kind of start removing a little bit, but that Innervate might be sitting there for a little bit until he picks up something a little bit better. Maybe something to combo off of the Ancient of Lores. And this is a very defensive turn and a good sign for Savjz because of what he's able to kind of do. Picks up an SI7 agent. Unfortunately, it's not an easy way to combo.
Well, he can use preparation to actually kill it. Like attack with a Farseer into Yeti. Like it really depends what he wants to keep. I feel like attacking the Yeti with Edwin is actually fine because then you're safe. If you would attack with Farseer and just keep Edwin, Edwin is still really vulnerable to Keeper of the Grove top deck. So using your Edwin here is, I guess, correct.
Picking up immediate value and still having a pretty intimidating board and representing lots of damage with 6, 3, and 3, so 12.
This is actually like 13 points of damage with the weapon, so it's getting pretty dangerous. Those 2 cards on Savjz's hand are looking horribly for Forsen. Like Forsen's probably afraid of those cards. What are the possible cards there? Like what can it be? Leroy and Shadow Step? You never know.
Yeah, I think it's better to play safe and remove that Edwin. And he does end up playing that Harvest Golem in response to try to develop something on the board. So if he picks up Sap, still kind of gassed out here. The nice thing about Harvest Golem is that Swipe does set it up so that way they basically have to trade into it if they want to get rid of it. So Savjz is just going to push for damage. He's going to use his cards when the time comes, but for now, forces his opponent for removal. And this might be an opportunity for Forsen to kind of climb back in this game.
Definitely, Savjz is doing what he can with the cards he was dealt. Like those cards are not exciting, and well, he just needs to push for damage and then just try to get that Leroy and maybe be able to win. If the next 2 turns, if he is able to draw into Leroy and Shadow Step, maybe he'll actually get a chance.
Well, gosh, he has a Spectral Knight, and that's going to do so much work. I don't think there's any way for Savjz to remove it, and then, he picks up Assassin's Blade, but that's going to be a hefty price. I think you just have to go for it.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to push for damage, and you can probably expect the combo, but it doesn't matter for you anyway, because if there is a combo, you're dead. So I guess Forsen will
Well, this is where I think you start healing. Yeah, I don't think... Or can you calculate damage with the Druid of the Claw and see maybe if you can somehow be able to push for it? I don't know. He's going to go for the taunt because he wants to set up a wall in case it is a Leroy, which makes complete sense. In fact, if he healed up with the Keeper of the Grove, he still could just die to Leroy Shadow Step plus something else.
Yeah, we mentioned that before. Like, Forsen is also a Miracle Rogue player, so he definitely can count the damage that Miracle Rogue is able to deal. And Forsen is also well known for counting 1 damage of lethal, so he probably can count here.
That stinks. A Conceal. He's still waiting for his gadgets in.
It's a blank. Well, on the other hand, Savjz got pretty lucky with the draws playing versus Reynard, so now it's kind of comes back, right? The karma.
Oh, you're saying it's karma. It's a little unfair considering the series does reset, and Savjz would love to have a good start with this. But it seems like his back's against the wall. How are you supposed to pull himself out of this one?
Here we go.
Well, he's not dead next turn still. And if Forsen plays the taunt, that's bad for Savjz. Like, he will have to draw into Gadgetzan. And if he draws a Gadgetzan, maybe miracles can happen. But if he gets anything else, he's just dead. And the Savage Roar, then he really needs that Gadgetzan. Like, Gadgetzan is the only out, and maybe not even. Wait, is he dead anyway?
I don't know. I don't know.
6 plus
I think
3
Druid of the Claw does come out here because he just sapped it. And, he would have to have a second sap plus the double, like a Shadow Step with Leroy in order to finish this off. Or maybe, like, Leroy Visceray. Basically force him to have pieces to combo. Plus, healing for 5 is essentially the same exact thing as placing this Druid of the Claw. You're gating health, effectively, but you're trying to put something tangible rather than Leroy going to the face.
You know what?
Magic
Like,
Break off the top.
Forsen was actually 1 damage of lethal.
Was he? I don't know. Maybe we didn't calculate it immediately, but he was close, but not good enough. And Savjz whiffs, and he's not able to get anything else, so he's going to place preparations and concede, realizing that this game is over. And game number 1 goes to Forsen, and he takes down a very crucial deck in the Miracle Rogue.
And it's very important for Forsen as well, because this deck shouldn't be that good versus Miracle Rogue. But Miracle Rogue didn't get the cards, didn't get the Gadgetzan, didn't get the Leroy. He wasn't able to push and damage. Like, he only had the Edwin. And Forsen had an insane start with Spectral Knight, a new card, which is pretty insane versus the Miracle Rogue. So now the Druid is still in the game, and this Druid is for sure a very powerful deck that can win versus anything. A very significant win for Forsen here.
Yeah, we even just mentioned it right before then. The Spectral Knight gives Miracle headache. Innervate starts are super powerful and hard to come back from. Now Savjz is going to go to his Handlock, a deck that usually can match up very well against this kind of Druid deck unless they have the answers perfectly synced, like BGH for the Giants, Keeper of the Grove for the Twilight Drakes. And in fact, because of the frequency at which Druid is able to kind of improve their consistency, some people even began to favor Druid against Handlock, although I don't know what people are feeling nowadays since Naxxramas' release.
I feel like this is actually correct. I mean, obviously the new cards change a bit, change the metagame a bit, but before the new cards actually dropped, like, a lot of Druids were playing the combo, the BGH, the Black Knight. We see those cards in Forsen's decks as well. So if you get those cards at the exact moments, you can really just shut down the Handlock. It's like, just silence the Twilight Drakes with Keeper of the Grove, kill the Giant, just cancel their turn, build up your board. Like, even the combo is pretty good. If they play those Molten Giants, where normally Molten Giants were scary and like hard to deal with, you can just use the first combo, clear the board, and then use the second combo to win the game. So right now with Sludge Belchers, it might be a bit different, and like the Nerubinex can also be meaningful in this matchup, but I would still give a slight edge to the Druid deck with those counter cards.
Ooh, what about that kind of start with Wild Growth and Innervate? And he has Keeper of the Grove.
And a coin as well. Pretty sick.
Not bad. Ramping for days.
And double Yeti. Oh my god. You can like...
It makes sense. You Yeti, you Wild Growth, and then you Yeti. Sounds like a good game plan to me. And Savjz will have to deal with a good amount of early pressure right from the get-go. He could not be happy about that because you're life tapping.
You're life tapping for life. So
Gosh.
hard. By the way, did you know that Yeti on this art is actually running away from a Warlock that casted Fear? So this Yeti is not charging. It's
cool.
It's running away.
That's a fun fact. I didn't know that. Huh.
But here the Yeti is just running straight into Handlock's face, and the second he is falling next turn. There is
you
nothing
tap, you're at 22, you take 4 more, you're at 18, And he doesn't know, but there's another Yeti following up. And guess what?
And a
He has a
BGH.
BGH.
And keeper. Like, whatever Savjz will play, it's dead. Like, if he plays the Giant, what is the correct play? Because your opponent maybe is not playing BGH and definitely playing double Keeper of the Grove. The Giant is actually a more devastating play here for Savjz.
I can't
And
believe
even
this
a
is the
Wrath.
dream
Oh my
start.
god, he actually got a... Wait, the Wrath for that
Yeah,
next turn?
the Wrath for the Drake, as well as the Keeper of the Grove Silence. Like, it actually cannot get any better unless that the Innervate was a Savage Roar.
And Savjz doesn't have any Molten Giants in here. We're potentially looking at a turn 4 kill from the Druid. Or is it like
Oh my god.
Or is it turn 5? With Wild Growth? It's always confusing with Wild Growth which turn it is. It will be turn 5 kill. Kind of. Okay,
Yes.
maybe. Yeah,
Maybe it can happen, though. If he draws Black Knight, it's over.
No,
Wait, he
it's-
just silences it, though.
It
No,
is,
you're
yeah,
right.
it just silences it. It's turn 5
Exactly.
kill. Oh my god,
Oh my
so
goodness.
sick.
That is a
Forsen.
quick game, too. I can't believe it. I was just starting to get warmed up and looking at the board. And now Savjz has dropped 2 games in a row to this Druid deck. But that's kind of what Innervate and Wild Growth does. When it does, when it gets out of control. Even the Innervate finish from Forsen and the Wrath. Why not?
Rough face. Way.
Draw a
Actually
card,
wrap
too.
a card. Sure.
All right,
That was
well,
so
game
fast.
number 2 was so quick, and now Savjz has lost his first 2 games and will have to rely on his Hunter deck. Now, the good news is that Hunter is actually pretty decent against Druid, and actually against the rest of the field, as we saw before, Forsen dropping his previous series. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to start off 0-2, especially losing that quickly. It's just, this isn't the first time it happened to Savjz. Earlier this week, he lost on turn 4 to a Savage Roar with Token Druid, with his hand lock as well.
Have we actually seen Savjz losing with his Druid at least once? Because I can't remember. Like, I remember Savjz 4-0ing Arena with a Druid, with the Hunter. And then he was playing Hunter last series as well. And I felt like he was really doing good with it. It's a hard question, I guess. I don't remember that well. But this Hunter deck is definitely something that Savjz is running right now. Savjz was always also playing Hunter historically, because he was playing Hunter in the 2P tournament before, and he did very well with it. So he's definitely a Hunter player as well. And yeah, is his list like something different? His list is different than Reynard's. He's running double Freezing Trap. He's running Explosive Trap as well. 1 Timber Wolf only.
Yep. Eagle Horn Bow. The fact that
Leroy.
he does have Leroy. Unlike players like Lucky, he doesn't have that Oasis snap draw. I think this has played right before he played his Cooler Master Show match, where he did put Oasis snap draw and realized that he doesn't necessarily need 2 copies of Freezing Trap or something along those lines. So it seems like he's also not running cards like Flare. So that way he doesn't really need to thin the deck. He just wants to draw something that's good quality, be able to slam it down, and be able to synergize what's on the board.
Yeah, I really like this list as well. It should be good versus mid-range Druid, definitely, and as well as Warrior, and as well as Priest. We are looking at a possible comeback here. Like, Savjz should be able to actually like 3-0 Forsen with Hunter.
Maybe. You know, the Hunter deck is a little bit reliant on the draws, but when you have a starting hand like that, the Web Spinner Hunter Creeper, that's exactly what you're looking for. And Savjz can kind of pick up something very nice, maybe even a very useful beast off the Web Spinner to drop in the mid-game, 3 or 4 mana cost, so that way he's not skipping a turn.
Maybe even an Angry Chicken.
Maybe even an Angry Chicken and Houndmaster. The dream is still alive.
Definitely a Jungle Panther, or however you call that 4-2 stealth, would be the best. The Jungle Panther, sure.
Why not? Forsen with double Savage Roar opening.
This hand is so bad for Forsen. There is no potential.
Unless he picks up something with Innervate. Like, Innervate, he can kind of start curving out a little bit better, but just like you said, it'll still be awkward for a while. Let's find out what Savjz draws. A Tundra Rhino.
Tundra Rhino is pretty nice. It really it confuses your opponent as well. It's like, because you'll play Tundra Rhino like in a kind of a late game, so your opponent will have to assume like Tundra Rhino might be actually in the deck, like it might be on an actual list. So if Savjz wins this game, then Forsen will have to play around Thunder Rhino, right? Kind of.
Oh, that's so funny. You're so right. Unless he's paying attention to where that card was placed and he's eyeing it to make sure he has a good sense of it. You can kind of keep track of where your opponent's cards are going. Look at this curve, by the way, for Savjz. It's so nice. You got Animal Companion. You have Houndmaster as the
You
opportunity as
Houndmaster. I
well.
feel you can even Houndmaster now. That's definitely good because you haven't seen a free drop from your opponent. And the possible 4-drop is a Keeper of the Grove or Swipe. Like, those are the cards. And he gets the Swipe, actually. But the Swipe, well, it will only kill one of those minions. And you still are empty boarded, kind of, facing a minion. And also, like, using Swipe here is so painful because you want to use Swipe to kill those spiders at some point.
Yeah. You want to kill off whatever those minions are summoned by a death rattle, and I think Savjz was happy to see that swipe being used there pretty ineffectively. Now, Animal Companion will be pushed. Let's see what he gets. A Huffer so he can add damage right back, and this is not a position Druid wants to be in. They're going to have to be really defensive, but that plays straight into the hands of Hunter when they can use things like Deadly Shot and continue to press.
This is a pretty good Animal Companion to get. He is an aggressor here. He is pushing with damage, and Forsen, it will be hard to stabilize like after that.
Oh man, Deadly Shot's going to completely destroy Forsen's day.
Oh yeah, and then another Haunted Creeper will just develop the board, and you feel safe because. Do you
Yeah.
Lotheb?
Lotheb might be legitimate as well. I mean, you go for the board development. I mean, the Spectral Knight has to crash into the spiders anyways, so you can
Well,
kind of use it to effectively trade.
I can easily tell you why Lotheb is being played in here because Force of Nature on turn 6 will be so good for Forsen. So Savjz is denying that Force of Nature play.
Sure, makes total sense. Okay, he's gonna go for the Black Knight and try to clear out some of these minions. So unfortunately, he doesn't play around everything, and there is a nice minion kind of squad on the board. But Savjz has put a lot of damage already. 7 with the kill command. Wait, oh my god,
Wait,
is that already
this is
game?
lethal.
Because
That's
he has
game.
the kill command and the damage. What is going on? These games are ending so quickly, Nimsh. And Savjz is gonna be able to climb back barely in the series 1-2 and destroy Forsen's Druid deck.
I don't know what's going on actually. Like, a lot of people told me that this metagame should be slower with all the Sludge Vulture, Unstable Ghoul stuff, but what we are seeing here is just crazy. Games are ending up on like turn 5, turn 6. What is going on? Like, are we back to like Hunter metagame with turn 6 finishes?
It's not even the intention of the Hunter deck. It's trying to play a little bit slow. I mean, Savjz even mentioned that he wants things like Savannah Highmane to be the center core of the deck. He's trying to get closer to it, and it just conveniently got to the point where he just ramped up anyways and got so much damage in with things like Huffer and the Houndmaster that it didn't matter.
That was a sick game. And Forsen is now, well, he's not down to Warrior. He can still pick Warrior Priest. And he's actually taking his Warrior to face the Hunter. He was able to win versus Hunter before when he was facing Greynad. But basically, Warrior is disadvantaged, I feel, in this matchup. So, might be tough for Forsen. That Druid game was really important as well.
Yeah, it just feels like Forsen is a little bit weaker to this Hunter in general. But if I think maybe he doesn't feel that way because he's been picking Warrior into the Hunter very often. So maybe he feels like it's good because you have things like the Cleave with efficient removal and you're able to deal with Highmanes effectively. Now, granted, we do see that Savjz doesn't have a lot of support cards or other middling threats like Oasis Snapjaw to absorb a lot of the removal. And so if he focuses so much on the Savannah Highmane and he's not able to get a great start to support it, maybe the Warrior just efficiently removes it, and all of a sudden, all the cycling that Hunter does is a little bit useless because you don't have damage to kill Warrior.
Also, there is one important thing. Savjz is missing the Iron Beak Owl, which is pretty good in this matchup when you're able to silence like Acolyte of Pain or like Armor Smith. Here he will have to rely on the mid-range minions, and that traps. I don't feel like traps are really effective in this matchup because Warrior is
They
mostly
can
about
be.
like playing minions, right? He just stabilizes and Hard to tell.
Freezing Trap can be pretty gross sometimes. Just with some of the things that you can do early game to seize tempo, and Warrior can't kind of get anything going. I think it really does depend on how the draws kind of fall into place for Hunter. Savjz wants to get a good start though, and Animal Companion is one of those valuable cards where you do want to get a really important start with something like a Misha.
Actually, his hand doesn't look that good, and now he has to use tracking turn 1, which is always a painful choice, because if you use it on turn 1, it's also a signal to your opponent that, hey, my hand is bad, I had to use tracking now instead of like using tracking on turn 4 like later in the game.
Aha, so Savjz does pick up the web spinner, which can draw him a valuable beast later on. A little bit off curve, but no worries, that web spinner will make it up to you, I promise you, Yane.
Definitely web spinner is a cool card
It'd
in
be
here
great.
because he doesn't have a good follow-up. So if web spinner actually gives him a turn 5 drop like Kodo or like Rhino or even like a King Crush, that would be so good for Savjz. But on the other hand, if he gets one of the like bad beasts, let's see what he
I'm
gets.
looking forward to it. What's it gonna be?
Oh man, this
Oh.
is so bad. No,
Well-
he didn't want to get it.
I mean, he gave up a Stone Tusk board to draw this card. Oh, he gets the Huffer. That's bad too. Not a good start for Savjz. Great for Forsen though, as he's able to kind of stabilize very easily and start to weather the storm.
If Forsen is in a really good position here, he can even coin the Spectral Knight next turn. And we discussed it before, Spectral Knight is super hard to remove. Well, unless you play the Freezing Trap, actually. It might work in this scenario. It'd be so interesting to see Freezing Trap used on a Spectral Knight. But
Unfortunately, if he used Freezing Trap, that gives Forsen the opportunity to something like slam his own Acolyte to draw and then play it and then get it back in his hand, if that was the case. So I don't know if that's what you want. I don't know if Savjz is going to be playing into something like that, but I think Freezing Trap on the Acolyte doesn't feel worth it most of the time.
no, yeah, I mean like Freezing Trap next turn maybe. Clear the
I thought you
Acolyte.
said Freezing Trap here.
No. I mean, it would be a possible play, but I don't feel like it. Like, you definitely want to keep Freezing Trap for the later turns. Do you Stone Tusk Boar and Handmaster here to kill the Acolyte to give him only one card? I guess it makes a lot of sense. You have a positive 3/3 on board and a 4/3 as well.
Yeah, I like it. It's also a way to kind of contest and challenge the Spectral Knight, so that way it's forced to kind of trade in, assuming your opponent doesn't have something like Fiery War Axe to be able to efficiently clear. So I think it's the best play. I think anything else like an Animal Companion is a little bit too RNG based.
Also, Forsen has a lot of spell cards right now. Oh, he got a. This is quite nice. He got a Shield Block and a Slam as well. Shield Slam.
Yeah, that's really valuable against the inevitable high mains that'll be coming out during this matchup. Usually the matchup drags out long enough that you'll see at least one high main, unless Hunter has them in their bottom 5 cards or something like that. Okay, so where does Forsen go from here? He does have options to kind of remove, but how does he go about it? Do you start off by slamming the Houndmaster and seeing what you get, or how do you go about it?
It's tough because he only has 5 mana, so I just went for a couple of scenarios. Like, I would definitely want to keep my Spectral Knight as a 4/6 and not attack into anything. But all the combinations of cards are pretty weird. You can possibly, like, for example, armor up and shield slam the boar, and then, well, definitely not execute. I guess he will have to attack into something. So maybe shield block, see what you get, slam the 4/3, and then attack into 3/2.
Well, he picks up the slam, a second slam, so that makes him feel a little bit better about being able to use one of them immediately. And Forsen will finally make his move. Savjz picks up a second Hunter's Mark, which is kind of useless. He needed some other beast to draw. Seems like he's not happy about it either.
This
Wants to
shows
throw
the
it in
power
pain.
of the Spectral Knight. Spectral Knight is so annoying for all those decks. That's why I feel like this card is one of the best cards. Like, he just had to hero power in the past. Like, how bad is that? He didn't have any good play in here.
Oh, it's just gonna get worse with his opponent just stacking his advantage.
And
You know,
Karen is
things like
also a very
freezing
powerful
trap can
card.
be activated pretty easily, and you place a second Spectral Knight.
He's just freezing trap, like last turn playing a freezing trap and getting the Spectral Knight to like kind of heal himself.
I don't know. It's difficult. It's in these positions you're giving up a lot by trying to assume too much of your opponent, and then if you get called in your bluff, you just get blown out of the games. What can
The
Savjz
problem is-
even roll here in the Animal Companion that'd be good?
Yeah, it's so painful because he doesn't have like a Timberwolf or a Buzzard. Like with those cards, he will be able to clear kind of, but without it, it's just like get 2 dogs and do nothing. Maybe
He's also
if
going
he
to be
gets-
playing straight into Black Knight with Houndmaster if he ever like plays it. So at this stage, Forsen has a lot of good answers to whatever Savjz can put out.
I guess this is the correct play. He just chips the armor off, and well, but Forsen will probably realize what kind of card is this.
Yeah,
And with
when you
Armor Smith top deck, this Armor Smith is actually a pretty good card to draw
Armor made to
because
Yeah.
you can just not attack and then probe next turn, see what trap it is. Oh,
yeah,
man,
if it's
this-
explosive trap on some off case, then you gain a lot of armor. So it's a very good position for Forsen once again. And perhaps this is why he feels confident against mid-range Hunter, because you do have these games sometimes where you just don't draw into anything to do whatsoever. Now Savjz all of a sudden doesn't want to play something like Haunted Creeper because it just
looks-
feeds directly into more armor.
Yeah, it looks
It's
so
bad
bad
either
for
way.
Savjz. So bad for Savjz. Like normally facing this kind of the board, you want to have either an explosion like Leroy, kill commands and stuff, or Unleash the Hounds and Buzzard. But because Savjz used his Unleash the Hounds to just clear the Spectral Knight, now he has no potential in this hand. Like he only can play a couple of minions. But Forsen will be able to just use the trap on a 1/4 Acolyte and then push with damage, and Forsen becomes the aggressor in this game.
Savjz feels completely shackled down. He can't use any of his removals for like Hunter's Mark and be able to combo. He can't play any spells. He's just gonna
Just
pass.
passed.
2 turns of just passing essentially. He played his freezing trap, but that really didn't do much. And now Forsen can take a firm lead in this game when he discovers this is freezing trap, what he suspected from the beginning. This is
Can deal
bad
9 points of
news for
damage.
Savjz.
Being Forsen, what do you do here? Do you like force the Black Knight?
made to fit.
Nah,
Oh, you just
I
play
think you
Arsmith.
slow play it. You slow play it for sure. You know, do you think there is merit to if you really think it's freezing trap? Do you like play Lotheb and then, or you get freezing trap Lotheb so that you can play him again? If you absolutely know it's freezing trap.
Well, that's not a bad play. I mean, like, if there is a second freezing trap, you can probably attack with Lotheb first and see what happens. If you have enough mana, like, if it's late enough in the turn.
It's definitely
like-
assuming a lot. By the way, Savjz feels like he has to do this because his opponent is coming up on turns where Gromosh can come out, and he might just die. So he has to kind of prepare for the possibility he might lose. Unfortunately, removal, like Hunter's Mark on Cairn, he's still resilient because Bane will come out and still a 4/5 minion can attack. So Savjz is still looking at a really tough position, and he might drop the series if he can't pull himself out of this hole.
Well, do you play Lotheb here, by the way, being Savjz? This Misha will get wrecked by Black Knight, that's for sure.
Well,
Oh my gosh, Savjz already kind of resigning himself to defeat. Black Knight comes out, dealing 4 damage, taking everything, stealing Savjz's lunch money. And 10 damage does exist right here, but I think you go for the trade. Just again, take your time. Warrior plays this long game against the mid-range Hunter. And pressure advantage. Savjz needs something big.
He gets a big card, but this is not something he needed.
Oh man, he's frazzled. You know, just look at how fast he's playing and how erratic his mouse movement has gotten. Forsen's in full control. Gromosh has arrived with Whirlwind execute. This game, this series is over. And now Forsen has jumped to a 2-1 spot in his group and ties Savjz, which puts him firmly tied for first place and awaits the verdict between Lucky and Reynad. If Lucky wins, it's a 3-way tie, but if Lucky loses, Forsen and Savjz advance to the single elimination stage.
Oh wow, Forsen really knows how to play that warrior. I'm telling you, this is a new metagame deck. Like I'm sure a lot of players will actually pick up this deck and play it on ladder. It looks very solid, and I really like it.
It's not bad. Control Warrior is also good at grinding out the ladder, usually because it's able to play very stable and you're able to respond and let people make mistakes. Good job to Forsen, as he's now 2-1, and he started off the day a little bit rocky, but was able to come and back and finish strong, as a lot of his fans have been watching and anxiously awaiting to see his tournament performance. Real quick, guys, now that we have a quick break before we get into our last series of the day, we want to remind you once again about what the tournament's about. At the bottom of your screen, you do see something called Video Game Voters Network, and they're doing a giveaway, a sweepstakes for the cyber-powered PC. And all you have to do is sign up for the newsletter, and enter your email, and you're eligible to win. It takes 1 minute. And more entries means more opportunities for tournaments like this in the future. So definitely try to rally your support and be able to sign up for this as soon as possible. Do that while Nimsh and I take a break and reset for the last match of the group, potentially. If Lucky wins, it's a tie, and we have more coming. So
Lucky versus Reynolds is next.
Yeah.